kid again.
Yeah, here he is.
There we go.
If you do it one more time, detention.
Yeah.
And I'll put you in detention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Staring at
so
a
make
wall.
sure you're late for the next one, right?
Staring at a wall.
You're staring at me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eye contact.
Basically a wall, innit?
You make me not want to do it. Do you know what I mean? I might walk. It's ridiculous. That was a nice intro. Hi
It
guys.
was.
Hope we're alright.
Here we are.
Exactly. This one is. It's going to be simple but effective. This is one that I'm going to push people to listen to more so. We're going to talk about the topic of doing too much too soon.
Too much, too soon.
I feel like, I mean, my January for work was, the actual gym itself was quite slow. I think people's New Year's almost started in February. Do you know what I mean? Like they've given January just like a miss. And like now work's getting busy. But as the busier work gets, the more things you see, the more things you wonder, and you think, I'm seeing you here too much, maybe, with not enough visual impact. Does that make sense?
Yeah, not enough in between.
Yeah, so by too much too soon, the basis we want to cover is we want to cover potentially either going on a calorie deficit too low, or on that calorie surplus too high, or that activity level. We've talked about activity level and how important it is. We'll run through it again very quickly for the people who haven't heard it. But it's doing too much. Don't do 7 days a week. Rest is really important. And if what we're going to explain about today isn't enough, go back to our previous podcast. We give it a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think to begin with, the main one we'll start off, in terms of too much too soon, the conception is losing weight. Being in a calorie deficit is more known now to lose weight. You could be on a calorie deficit and lose weight and not worry about working out necessarily. If you stick to that strong calorie deficit, you will eventually lose weight.
You will.
Simple as that. However, it's knowing what deficit to be in. What's the safe deficit? Especially when we are doing activities as well, because our energy expenditure is increased. So I want to start with too much too soon on a calorie deficit.
On a deficit, yeah.
I'm new to the gym. I should be consuming 1,800 calories, but I've just skyrocketed down to 1,000 to 1,200 calories. How will that affect me?
So I think, firstly, when you actually identify what your maintenance calories are, so you said you should be on 1,800, for example, that will always just be a rough estimate. So that's never going to be 100% correct, which is why you need to ensure that your deficit is not too extreme, because there might be a slight miscalculation and, the computer cannot identify what your metabolism is like. No. It can just give you a rough guidance. Yeah. So if it's telling you to consume 1,800 calories at maintenance, there's a chance that might already be a deficit. If you're then reducing that by another 600 to 800 calories,
before you know it, you've quadrupled the deficit already.
That's extreme.
That's when it gets just dangerous.
That's something that you're not going to be able to sustain.
And it's the lack of the vitamins, the minerals that the food gives you that helps our body just function. People need to realise, like, a base calorie is, let's say, like, if we, in this scenario, 1,800, that's what my body wants to sit down and function in the right way. So imagine for the people who use that as a deficit, go down to 1,200, then go to the gym. So their energy expenditure is all the way up here, their deficit's all the way down here. This bit in between, we need to try and do this.
We need to neutralise it
and meet it, exactly.
Yeah, your body is very clever, so it is trying to maintain homeostasis. Your body wants to be at a level playing ground.
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't want these kind of changing variables all the time. Your body just wants to be...
It doesn't want to be in discomfort.
No.
At all.
No, so that's why it's so important that you do things very gradually. So in terms of a deficit, I would typically recommend like a 10 to 15% deficit to start with.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, you get in your 1,800 calories as apparent maintenance.
Yeah.
If you're reducing by 10 to 15%, and then you start to see that you're losing too much weight after a couple of weeks, you know that you've not gone too extreme with it, but you can start to taper that back up, start to increase it a little bit, and then start to make those slow changes.
The difference of 50 to 100 calories in a day, like I love how you explain it. Is you're not just looking through calories daily. You add those 50 calories weekly. You got 350 calories of nutrients that you might have lacked beforehand. That's a big amount.
It is, yeah.
It is, and don't underestimate that. That's why when you find a deficit, work with it. Do you know what I mean? Give it a go. If it doesn't work, we go up. Or if there's not enough coming off, then maybe we go down by 50. But you don't go down by like 200 each time. I see people chopping it, like absolutely just cutting it in half, and it's so dangerous.
Yeah, or these people that will just straight away say, "Oh, I'm on 1,000 calories for the next 8 weeks."
Yeah.
I'm like, again, referring back to an old video where I said about keeping a food diary so that we can identify how many calories you're currently consuming. If you are not aware of what your current intake is, so let's just say, for example, you're eating close to 3,000 calories a day, and then you decide, right, I'm going on this 1,000-calorie diet. You're cutting out 2,000 calories. Do you really think you're going to be able to sustain that?
Yeah. How can you expect your body to just even cope?
No.
With day-to-day life?
You would be much better off. So let's just say you are having those 3,000 calories without realizing. You then identify that problem, and you're in a surplus. Go into a 150 calorie deficit, then just increase your activity level by a little bit.
Yeah. And I always like to try and push, this might sound silly, but a food deficit, not all this liquid diet phases, fads. Ridiculous. It's almost empty. To me, it's almost empty calories. You can get nutrients, but not to the level of what goes through our body through chewing, the breakdown, bringing it down, ingesting, etc.
Proper metabolizing.
Exactly.
Process.
So the deficit we're talking about is nutrient deficit in terms of substance. We're not talking liquid diet, empty diet.
No, you should never do that. By the way, I'm completely against that idea.
Yeah, I'll say, but it's tough because when it comes to, we'll move on to surplus now. When it comes onto a surplus, you always see like 1,000-calorie shake, something like that. Do you know what I mean? Peanut butter, ice cream, 4 scoops of protein powder. You got like full fat milk. You look at it and you just think, in that one like bit there, it's like 1,000 calories. 1,000 calories of what?
Yeah. What exactly are you?
It's tough because
from that.
When people go on a calorie surplus, it's normally to bulk up. So normally we're looking more at the lads here. They're looking to bulk up. I know a few as well already. And to begin with, where they go wrong is being on a calorie surplus, doing this, keeping to the title of too much too soon, is, let's say it's Sunday and you think Monday, I'm going on a bulk. That doesn't mean then you can eat anything and everything.
No.
It doesn't mean we increase our calories by double. No,
it's got to be within reason.
Exactly.
There's still a process to it.
It's all this moderation. It doesn't matter if we're working low, high, maintaining moderation.
Yeah.
And it's progression as well. So you maybe increase it by 200-300 calories for the first week, so you feel. Because trust me, if you increase your macronutrients doubled, which I know some people have done, they've really struggled. They feel lethargic. They feel all bunged up.
Well, that's the thing, is because if you are doubling your macronutrients or your calorie intake, think of those carbs that are being multiplied.
Yeah.
The amount of insulin spikes you're going to get through the day. So 1 minute you're going to feel great. Yeah. Then you go to the gym, you get home, and you crash out.
Absolutely crash, yeah.
You're fueled on caffeine and a ridiculous amount of carbs that your body hasn't prepared for.
And you're looking at the scales thinking, yeah, I'll have 3 kilos on this week. Water weight.
Yeah.
All those carbs. You're eating 600 grams of carbs that can hold up to 4 grams of water per gram of carb. I mean, that's a lot of water weight, potentially. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, you might put something on. Let's say if you're training at a reasonable intensity 5 times a week anyway. Fair enough.
Yeah, about 0.25 pounds of muscle per week. So you're looking at about a pound of muscle a month.
Yeah, which
doesn't sound a lot.
It isn't, and that's why people probably
just the way it goes.
Don't realise, and I get why people do that shake thing. I get it, but like the last video we just spoke about, the supplementation comes in a little bit better. I think you don't need 1,000-calorie shake. Because there's a version of a bulk that's better for you. So, for instance, I spoke about that Clearway. If you 2 scoop that, that's 40 grams of protein, 600 millilitres of water. Why on earth? And that'll be about 350 calories, I think. Why on earth do you need 1,000 calorie shake? That will taste
get-
like shit, by the way.
To get the same amount of
To
protein.
get the
as
same
well.
amount of protein.
That is important.
And for you to feel better
Yeah.
at the
It
end.
is important to understand, though, that when you are in a calorie surplus, because a lot of people just think protein, protein, protein. And protein is obviously a fundamental key
Yeah,
to
always.
building muscle. But when you're in a calorie surplus, when you're looking to build muscle, the primary factor is that you are in a surplus.
Yeah.
So you need to be in a calorie surplus. But also, it's important to understand that you shouldn't be doing too much too soon in that regard. Because if you're looking to build muscle and you overdo your surplus and you're eating way too much, you think, great, I'm putting on this weight, but it's not muscle. And then it comes to, 15 weeks down the line when you check your body fat percentage and you realize that you've actually just put on mostly body fat.
Yeah.
Then you've got to work the other way, and you end up just bouncing between the two.
Yeah.
And then you start to get hormonal imbalances.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the imbalance.
Your training suffers.
Yeah.
You feel like shit.
Because the problem is, if you're needing to surplus to deficit, you are looking on average. You're looking from the 5,000 to 1,000 calorie drops and increases. Your body cannot it cannot indulge itself in going on a surplus and then, like you say, 10, 15 weeks later, thinking, Jesus, I put a bit too much on.
Yeah, and then it's harder to undo.
Exactly.
And you feel like you've taken 2 steps back. But
Exactly.
I think a lot of that is due to the misconception of focusing on the scale, looking at the weight and thinking, oh, it's going up, I'm building muscle. And you almost become fixated
Talking about
on that.
scales as well. When people first start the gym and they look in the first 2 weeks and they think, oh, I've lost 2 pounds. Once again, I've said it before, fantastic, well done. Yeah, but your initial loss will be things like water weight, toxins, etc. But then it's when they struggle and they plateau and they think, I've been doing this 3 weeks now, I haven't lost anything. Once again, there could be many reasons, but I'm not going into that. I'm going into, if I look at you, I don't see a number on a scale.
No.
You're the only person who knows that number, so don't worry about it. I know people fixated on scales, and it can make or break their day. Don't let it. It's really not worth it. I don't look at you and think like, he's 100 kilos at least. I look at you and think you're 200 plus.
200
Like, do you know what I
plus.
mean? Like, we don't. Like, I mean, I work in a gym and I see loads of people all day, every day, and I haven't once looked at someone thinking 50 kilos, come in, 78. No one does. You're the only person who's fixated on this number. Numerical data is fantastic and strong.
You do look at him and think, I bet you can only bench 20 kilos.
Yeah.
Sam.
Yeah, no, he comes in. He comes in through the door and I think, bitch boy Kinnan. Do you know what I mean? He comes in. Training 3 years and then just about bench 100. Worse.
Shocking. He's going to hate this, isn't he? He's going to report us.
I feel bad. No, I'm joking. I don't.
Nah, he's a great lad.
Yeah,
But,
is he?
Yeah, of course he is.
Oh, fair.
But Sam is just someone that we both know that.
Yeah, we're not being horrible to people here for no apparent reason, by the way.
We referred to him in one of our previous videos regarding the rest and recovery.
Yeah, and
he just said he needs to rest more.
And he called us out.
Yeah.
He went, boxing match 2v1, which is ridiculous.
Obviously.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. 2v1. He fights himself in the gym and loses. So I don't know why he thinks he'd be able to beat both of us. Absolute delusional. Get in the gym and start lifting properly, bro. Anyway, behave. Behave. Where was I? Numerical.
Sorry.
Numerical. No, listen. Focus.
Right, yeah, so...
Don't worry about the scales, guys, please.
No.
Unless you're Sam. Stop.
Oh, Christ.
Stop. Go. You
We're
go.
gonna have
You
to
take
cut
over.
this. So, yeah, I think the scales are a good measuring tool. They can be utilised, but just don't be so focused on them. Don't use that as your only way of measuring your progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've spoken about progression in previous ones.
Exactly.
Go back and listen, because how we break down progression for you guys is real nice and simple. We break it down in a way that doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. Do not let the scales overtake your fitness journey, because you won't enjoy your fitness journey.
No, I always like to refer people to examples of body composition. So, for example, you could be 82 kilos and have a high body fat percentage.
Yeah.
But then you can change your body composition with a sufficient diet, optimal training. You can then still be 82 kilos, but have higher muscle mass percentage, lower body fat. So you can look leaner. So the weight really doesn't make much difference.
Yeah.
It is just a tool that we like to utilize alongside everything else. So just don't be so focused on that.
At the end of the day, base it off how you feel. If you feel good and if you feel like you look good, then you do. I mean, it's perspective and opinion.
I just keep thinking of what you said.
Listen, he's a wuss. Grow up, Sam. The last one, before we stop this one, is we don't like to repeat ourselves unless it's about Sam because he's useless.
He's going off.
I won't do this again, by the way. This is like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Maybe next week. In terms of too much too soon, we've spoke about intensity in our Plan and Prepare podcast.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to it a little bit. For people who are just starting the gym again, too much too soon is a massive thing. It's a lot to think of. I know we've said we've gone through surplus, deficit, and now we're moving on to exercise type. Just take a couple things that we say and then utilise it, and then you can introduce something else that we've said in previous podcasts. This isn't something we all do all in one. It's a really good way to introduce little and often. So once you do get used to maybe your training frequency of 2-3 times a week, that sticks after 2 weeks. Then introduce your deficit. 2-3 weeks later, you got two things that you're strong and consistent with. So in terms of the training intensity, what we really don't want you to do, guys, is just train 7 times a week just because it's the new year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just suggesting, to do one thing first, because if it's a new journey for you, you don't even know if you're going to stick to the training yet. So don't try the training and the nutritional side straight away hand in hand.
Allow the body and mind to focus and adapt
to one thing. One thing, yeah.
Exactly.
So be consistent with the training. Go to the gym 3 times a week to start with. Once you get into that habit, then you can start to look at your nutrition because you've already ticked off one box. Don't try to do too much too soon. So focus on one thing.
Great title, by the way.
Focus on the training, then the nutrition. So for people watching this that are looking to take something away and try to understand where they should be headed, essentially, I'd say that if you are, looking to maybe adapt your nutrition and training, you should train 3 times a week, minimum. And you should look at a 10 to 15% surplus if you're trying to gain muscle, 10 to 15% deficit if you're trying to lose weight.
Exactly.
That is a foundational starting point that can easily be adapted.
Yeah. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, always message us. But the point we want to get across, just in this little specific one, is let's not do too much too soon.
And don't be like Sam.